Welcome to our garden. This is the garden that you would have visited prior to having your lovely tea and cakes. So we hope that we can give you a little tour just to show you what you couldn't see. So we're starting on the top terrace. There's a woolly pine, which was rediscovered in 1994 in Wollemi National Park in Australia. Jane managed to get hold of one, thought to be extinct. Along the terrace we have mixed planting, some beautiful iris, and the rose, which is lovely.
Rhapsody in blue, that one, I think. And then the clematis will be out shortly. It's blown, the wind's blown it over. I'll tie it back up again.
So as we move down, you will see our water feature in the herb garden. This was a piece of Icelandic stone that we got from Bannells. We hadn't gone there for it, but we ended up with it. So there were mixed herbs, roses.
Going to be sweet peas up the tripods. Next week I'll put those in.
And on the other side we have again mixed planting. We have a Cistus Botanderi, which when it's in flower the scent is just delightful. So as we move further down, we have our gin and tonic space, as it gets the last of the sun. And that's our little bird bath that we bought from Chelsea one year, from an Australian sculptor. And you can just see the irises through. And then we go down to the main lawn, passing our office, again with mixed planting.
It's the loquat in the big pot. We're waiting for it to flower. They do grow in the area, but really, the best place to see them is Greece and then eat fruit.
So as you move down, you see our little pool. And this is the frogs' summer residence, as that's when they move in. And we can have upwards of 20 frogs in here at any one time. It just shows the value of a small source of water.
It also has a very fat goldfish in there to hopefully eat the mosquitoes.
So the lawn is surrounded by mature shrubs, herbaceous.
Self-sown stuff.
And then we look back towards the iris bed, which has been magnificent this year.
Yes, they're beginning to go over, but the yellow one smells delicious. I'm not sure what name it is. And there's quite a few Aquilegia in there that are self-sown over the years. Various different colours.
So as we continue to move down, you can go left or right, left being the shade garden. What we try and do is create different characters within the garden as you go through. And it's the medlar, which is pretty well past its best now, which provides the shade.
Yes, that'll have lots of fruit on. Underneath it is large numbers of helleborus, all self-sown, and snowdrops, which are currently just dying back. They'll need splitting shortly, but they were absolutely spectacular this year. And pulmonarias and things.
We'll go back through. Please excuse the camera work. I am not a cameraman. So as you move through, you see this lovely light installation. This is called Eclipse by a local sculptor in Ely, and the colours are just magnificent. So as you move into the pond area, you pass our bean, which again was a moment of madness at Chatsworth.
Yes, very comfortable. Once you're in there, you don't want to leave, especially with a good book.
So again we have mixed mature planting, Parotia roses, nice big hazel, and then we overlook the pond area. We spend hours on this deck looking at the pond. We have frogs, newts, fish, hissing sid, and the dragonflies and damselflies are just magnificent.
We had baby grass snakes last year.
We did.
They were sweet, if you like snakes.
And again we use larger shrubs as we have the space. Roses on the fence.
Clematis behind.
The iris have been spectacular. This is a work by Peter Baker, again a local sculptor. He installed the eels in Jubilee Park. This one is made out of old bits of motorbike. And then we have another piece of art,
Bulrushes.
which is bulrushes.
Lovely. They come from Suffolk somewhere.
So again,
Various plants. We've got, yes, mixture of planting. A lot of self-sown things, as you can see.
so this is the main route through the garden from here, but it gets worn away, so we've put down some reinforcing mesh with the idea of, well, we have overseeded it, so hopefully that will
Settle down.
Yeah. So just looking back over the pond and the summer house. Then we go into the kitchen garden, which has a very productive greenhouse, and obviously the vegetable beds. We have a lovely rhubarb, and we
Use reinforcing mesh for the climbing things like the bees and the beans and the peas. I use those on the fence around the garden because they make a good solid framework. And then this is the leftovers of a trampoline for covering the cabbages, from protect them from the butterflies and Mr. wood pigeon.
So as you walk through the kitchen garden, you see our magnificent compost heaps, which we had installed last year, of which are being well used.
Yes, I almost moved into one.
So as you move round, you'll just see the goat house, which is the oldest structure in the garden. It's vertically challenged, as you can see. It's been falling down ever since we moved in, but the last winds did take their toll. Still, the new shed should help prop it, if it does ultimately fall. So then we move into the paddock, which is primarily for wildlife. You have, of course, your log pile, which is our winter's kindling.
There's also the bug heap, the bug hotel at the bottom. I don't think we'd ever be able to burn the bottom.
No. This is a woodland garden, believe it or not. It is there, you just can't see it for the cow parsley. So the next job, once the cow parsley is finished flowering, is we take it out.
Well, Monty Don likes cow parsley. Well, it's lovely. Nice and frothy.
So as we move down the garden, you'll see 3 apple trees that we put in a few years ago. But the main success for them is we were given a packet of mistletoe seed, and it's actually taken. It took on 2 trees out of about 15. You normally only see at the top of trees, as that's where the birds drop the seeds.
And it's also where the bark is thinner, because that's what it needs, is to get through the bark.
So as we move on, we pass my jelly bean. This was a fallen apple stump that I've nurtured over the years to encourage the ivy. It's a living sculpture. But an oak somehow managed to creep in, and I don't have the heart to take it out. And I'm working on a principle that I'll be buried underneath it by the time it blocks this view. So as we move through, there's some more artwork by Peter Baker. These are our boxing hares.
They're really lovely, aren't they?
Beautiful. And you can see the rides are just starting to take shape. The rides are dictated really by cowslips. That's what these little clumps of longer grass are, as I go through every year marking the cowslips so I don't mow them. And because of that, we now have cowslips wherever you see long grass. There's cowslips, and they all started from here, from about 15 plants. Yeah. And what we try and do is create different characters in the garden, and this is a little shady spot. Excuse me, Alfie. And this is delightful for just being in the shade. Very small space. And then as we pan over, this is the ivy bed. We like ivy, the texture's good and it's very good for wildlife, and I mow this. It's been inoculated with,
Crocosmias, Michaelmas daisy, and there are some lilacs in here which have to be protected from the muntjac with metal cages around them, which is rather irritating, but there we are.
and these are some bits of stone that we found in the garden. They're obviously quite old, but I've no idea where they came from. And this is something my son found in a skip. It's a rather tortured torso. Jane doesn't like it really.
No.
And then as you look through, you'll see that the hedge is propped. Rather than cut the branches off, I'm propping them up to try and create a tunnel that you can look through at either end. It's still a work in progress. So as we move down the ride, I'm just starting some coppice ash now for kindling for the fire.
It's amazing how much they grow, isn't it?
Astonishing. And as we continue down, that's just a little play on light. We have some peonies. We had the idea of trying to naturalise them, but...
Well, they came from an old garden and they were growing in grass, so we thought we'd give it a go.
And this year they've got more bud on them than they've ever had, and they've been in about 15 years. They did sulk for a long time.
Yes. I think I probably planted them too deep.
And this gives you an idea. You can just see the cowslip seed heads. Just what a picture it must have been. We've planted Amelanchier down here, a bit of Symphoricarpus, very well behaved cornus.
Yes, this used to be the end of the garden.
So we move over a sleeper bridge and we've inoculated the ditch with some iris and other bits and pieces. There's no water in it during the summer, but in winter it does fill up.
Yes, it certainly does.
Yeah.
It's still squashy in the bottom, I suspect.
And we've just got...
Oh, the oxeye daisies are coming out.
They are. Just a picture. Then on this birch I have my wildlife camera, which takes pictures at night, or videos at night, and we've picked up badgers, muntjac.
Oh, the hedgehog whizzes around sometimes.
And it does. And lots of cats, needless to say.
Oh, and the pheasant and the wood pigeon.
Yep, and the woodpecker. We're planting different willows on this boundary as it does get quite wet down here, needless to say, in winter, so it's an ideal subject plant to put in. And this is a young Salix viminalis, which I will pollard to keep it at a reasonable height. And as we move along, you see our weather vanes by Ian Gill, and that was a moment of weakness.
Hampton Court.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to have one, and somehow we ended up with the family.
Yes.
Well, it would have been a bit lonely just for one.
And so as we move along, these are my two sheep,
Sheepy and Matilda.
which are low maintenance, but they don't keep the lawn down. I do move them, however. And then down this boundary, we're just establishing a new hedge, which will keep relatively low to maintain the views over. Then you have a very formally clipped hedge, as I like the contrast between the formality and the informality. And then we have the most splendid view over towards Haddenham.
And from here you see the church, don't you?
Haven't got there yet.
Have you not? There we go.
So we do have a church view of sorts. The rides in this particular area are far more linear and not curvy, so I quite like the formality.
Well, it's taken from the old pig sheds, isn't it? So you get the square form there.
Yes, that was an old pigsty that we now use as a seating area. So as we walk back, you'll get a different view and we'll just pick up things that we may have forgotten. Come on, Alfie. Come on.
Come on. It's cool down there, fair enough.
These two blocks of stone, again, are just bits of stone that we found just lying in the garden, yeah.
Oh, don't forget your
This is our
hazel with the...
hedgehog
Oh, yes.
drinking bowl, as they do need water.
These are proper.
Yes.
And that hazel has...
Almost forgot. This hazel was a present from my son, and it's impregnated with truffles. So in theory, I should be able to harvest truffles in about 5 years' time. So that's when I'll get my pig. So as we walk back, you can just start to see the tunnel forming, hopefully, by propping the branches. These hawthorns were here when we arrived, and there is a fair bit of dead wood in them, which we leave for the woodpeckers.
The damsons were here as well, weren't they?
They were. They were a thicket, and over the years we've knocked them back to form a very productive hedge.
We planted the cherry tree, and that's amazing how big it is now.
That goes for all the planting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Philadelphus is about to come out.
That's this one. It's great to see a Philadelphus able to reach maturity, as they're very big, so they're not often planted.
That one's been totally left to its own devices.
And these hazels on the right, there are various varieties.
So one of them's a cob nut, so the nuts on that are considerably bigger. And the nuts on the purple ones are the same colour as ordinary ones, but the covering is sort of maroony pink and quite curly. Very attractive. The squirrels eat them, mainly. Bury them in the garden. I found an awful lot this year that have germinated.
And then as this is a better view, as if we haven't got enough garden, we got fed up with engineers telling us that you could only grow sedum on roofs. So we had the shed reinforced, and I planted it up. There's sedums, chives, there's a curry plant, there's all sorts.
Grass has arrived on its own.
Yeah. And what I'd maintained the roof for the first 12 months and then said, right, that's it, you're on your own. And it's established extremely well.
I think it was the only place we had thyme in the garden at one point, so we had to climb up there to get it for cooking.
Should we go this way?
Yeah.
And walk to the side, yeah. So we move back into the pool area.
Look out for frogs, so that's small.
And back up to the formal lawn. When you'd be ready for your tea and cake.
Certainly would.
We've been working on this garden for about 26 years, and it's still very much a work in progress.
So there's always a gap, however hard we try. A little bit that needs changing.
So back up on the terrace, where you would have enjoyed your tea. Well, we hope you enjoy your cream tea and you've enjoyed the little tour of the garden.
Maybe we'll see them next year when the garden's open.
Yes, we intend to open next year. Bye.